Hi guys! Today we're going over what to do for drafting an introduction to realistic fiction. So this is the page that you're going to use today. You can see it right there. And really what we're doing with drafting just means it's like practice. You're going to start it by just writing what you think of in your brain. Just make sure you remember that realistic fiction is something that can happen. It's not real because you made it up, but it is something that can really happen. So this is the page that you're going to be using for this activity. And you're also going to need to go back to this page. You're going to use the information that's on this page to make sure you write your story. So the very first thing that you need to know is that when you write an introduction to realistic fiction or to any story, you need to make sure you tell me the most important parts, the characters and the setting. So your realistic fiction introduction has to include characters and setting. All right, so let's take a look over here. It says, drafting the introduction for your realistic fiction. The directions say, write an introduction for your fictional narrative. That just means for your pretend story. Your introduction should include the characters, right? I just told you that. And setting of your story. All right, so I told you those things. It has to include the characters and the setting. It says make sure you use details. So what that means is that it's not enough for you to tell me, let's go back to mine. Here we go. It's not enough for you to say the characters are Lita and Andrew in Galaxy and they're in their backyard. That's not really enough. That's not giving me enough details. So what a good writer does is they also want to make sure that they grab the reader's attention, because there's so many books out there that I can read, but why should I read your book? Why is your book interesting? So what we do is we make sure we talk about the setting with as many details as possible. We also make sure we talk about the characters without saying these are the characters, and we talk about the setting without saying this is the setting. We also make sure that in the introduction we do not tell the problem. So I actually went ahead and wrote something down for you, and I'm going to show you in just a second. The other thing that we do is, there we go. It went all the way down by accident, sorry. So the other thing that we do, that didn't go well. Here we go. The other thing that we do is we also use dialogue or sound effects. Dialogue is when we're talking to each other. So for example, if I say, "Hi, how are you?" and you say, "I'm good, thank you." That's dialogue. Dialogue just means when the characters are talking to each other. And dialogue adds detail to a story. The other thing is sound effects. A sound effect is very simple. A sound effect is just the sound that you hear when something happens. For example, if I'm sitting at my table and I touch the table like this and I hit it hard, you hear a tap, 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 or a boom, right? So you're going to use either dialogue or a sound effect inside your introduction. What this does is it gives me, the reader, something to focus on, and it kind of grabs my attention. So I'm going to show you what I wrote, and just let's go over this really quickly. We have, for your introduction, you should make sure you have characters. You also tell me about the setting, and you use either dialogue, which is when people are talking, when the characters are talking, or sound effect. Sound effect is something that you hear, like in the 4th of July. If you're listening to fireworks, you might hear a boom, 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 right? That's dialogue. I'm sorry, that's sound effects. And then the last thing you need to remember is do not tell me the problem. A lot of times you want to tell me the problem right away. You want to tell me what's wrong in the story. That doesn't really apply when you're writing a story, because then your story is going to be over before it even begins. So your introduction should have characters, setting, it should have dialogue or sound effect, and something that I didn't write in here, instead of telling me the problem, tell me, let's try a different size. All right, the one thing that it should say is it should tell me something that happens before the problem. So tell me something that happens before the problem. I'm going to write before in capital letters. Before the problem. All right. So make sure that when you're writing your introduction, you have those 4 things: characters, setting, dialogue or sound effect, and that you tell me something that happens before the problem. All right, I'm going to show you what I wrote. Oops. Here's what I wrote. And I wrote some of it in red because you guys have seen this before. One day, you've seen that before, but remember, we want it to be very detailed. So one day is really like a kindergarten sentence or a kindergarten beginning. We're going to now, because you guys are going to 2nd grade, we're now going to add detail. For example, one sunny summer day, right? That tells me a lot more detail. It tells me that it's happening in the summer and that it's not cold out, right? And it's also telling me that it's sunny. So it's not just that it's summer, it's a sunny day, because in summer it can also rain. And that could have been a different problem. So it says, one sunny summer day, Lita and Andrew woke up. By telling you that, I'm already telling you who the characters are, but I'm not telling you these are the characters, right? I'm writing it like a real author. All right, let's keep going. One sunny summer day, Lita and Andrew woke up. They decided to go to their backyard with their cat, Galaxy. Lita opened the door. Be careful with Galaxy, shouted Andrew. Okay, so did I tell you these 4 things? Let's go back. Did I tell you the characters? I did. We know that the characters are Lita and Andrew and Galaxy, and we know that Galaxy is a cat. The setting, we know that the setting is in someone's house or probably close to their house or around their house, right? Because it tells us they decided to go to their backyard. So I know that it's in somebody's backyard. That's the setting. Does it have dialogue or a sound effect? Mine does have a sound effect. I'm sorry, not sound effect. It has a dialogue. Oops, there we go. Mine has dialogue. Be careful with Galaxy, shouted Andrew. That's something that somebody is saying in the story. So that's dialogue. And then the last thing. Does it tell me something that happens before the problem? So if we go back here, we can remember what the problem is. The problem in my story is supposed to be that Galaxy runs away when Lita and Andrew take him to the backyard. Did I tell you in my story or in my introduction that I already wrote, did I tell you that Galaxy ran away? No, right? Because I need the reader to have some information before I keep going with my story, before I introduce the problem. So if I read this to you again, it says, one sunny summer day, Lita and Andrew woke up. They decided to go to their backyard with their cat, Galaxy. Lita opened the door. Be careful with Galaxy, shouted Andrew. So as you can see, I did all of those 4 things. We have the characters, the setting. We also have dialogue, which is when characters are talking to each other. And I told you something that one of the characters or both of the characters did before the problem. So the next part, when we do this a couple of days from now, is going to be to actually tell the problem. The reason I left it here is also because by telling you, be careful with Galaxy, shouted Andrew, you can almost guess what the problem is going to be. You can do that in your story, or you can do something different. Just make sure that you hit those 4 points. And the 4 points are, make sure you have characters, make sure you have the setting, make sure you use either dialogue or sound effect, Do not tell me the problem in the story. That's very important. And instead of telling me the problem in the story, tell me something that happens before the problem. So something that happens before the problem. All right? All right, guys, get to work. Let's see how you do. Bye.